Withdrawal hits the day before Pete's fishing trip that required a rental truck. Another sits right before Lorna's leadership retreat in the city that somehow needed cash tips for the team. Cute. I log back into Grandpa's bank portal. The joint account stares at me like a new door on an old house, wrong shape. Opened 3 months pre-funeral, secondary name, Lorna's Consulting LLC. Not her personal, not her married, not her maid, not her maid. Which, friendly reminder to anyone within earshot, is not a real trust. It's camouflage with lipstick. I download statements for the last 6 months. Each PDF lands with that soft computer thunk that sounds like guilt. I pull transaction details and map them. Cashier's checks to a P.O. box I recognize as Lorna's business drop. ATM withdrawals at 11:07 p.m., 1:43 a.m., 4:12 a.m. Grandpa went to bed 11 as bad as Grandpa went to bed at Habermust. Grandpa went to bed just quantum. Grandpa went to bed eyes and he didn't do ATM raves. I click into the document vault. There it is, a scanned power of attorney labeled convenience, non-durable. Dated the same day Grandpa was at the hospital for imaging. I cross-checked the patient portal. Timestamps aligned to the minute. MRI tube. Beeping machines. Meanwhile, his hand apparently jogged over to the bank to sign forms. Sure. Maybe it took an Uber. I call Nora. Hypothetically, I say, if someone wanted to tag along on an elderly account, how would they sell it? She sighs. They say convenience signer to pay bills. Happens. But we require the account owner present, and we don't accept photocopied IDs. Also, if they push a POA, we verify with the lawyer. Which lawyer? I ask. Their listed counsel. Or we call the one on file if they're long-term. Dwyer's number is in Gerald's file, all theirs in Gerald's file. You found a POA, didn't you? It found me, I say. It also found the MRI. She swears softly, bring everything. Compliance is going to have a field day. I flag every transaction labeled BP Trust and sort by amount. They hover under $10,000 like birds afraid of windows. Structuring. Not always illegal alone, but paired with a shell LLC and a forged POA. That's a party. I make a chart because joy is real. Mid-click, my phone lights up with an unknown number. This is compliance, a woman says, crisp enough to slice bread. Nora forwarded your message and your court subpoena notice. Not wasting time, excellent. We're opening an internal case. Can you be here at 10? I have an examiner at 8:30 and a lawyer right after. I say, I can be there by 10:30 with documents. Bring the ledger pages, the PDF properties, as... Bring the ledger pages, the PDF properties, as... Bring the ledger pages, the PDF properties, as... My ledger pages, the PDF properties, Her tone shifts half a notch. And do not speak to the branch manager before you speak to me. Let me guess, I say. He's friends with Kay Bell. Golf, she says. They play on Thursdays. I scribble golf Thursdays manager on my pad and underline it 3 times for emphasis and spite. I open the will PDF properties again. Creator, generic PDF suite. Producer, printer X420 series. The X420 is easy. They track serials tied to rewards accounts because of course they do. I feel a grin I don't try to hide. If I can match the yellow dot pattern, those microscopic printer freckles, to a serial tied to her purchase, I'm basically reading a diary entry she didn't mean to write. I pull on a hat because this is a farm and hats exist, and take the back way to Lorna's office shed. It's a shed the way a McMansion is a starter home. She calls it her workspace. I call it the place she keeps her receipts because she likes to gloat. Trash pickup is tomorrow. The bin sits by the fence, open because wind. I fish a pair of clean gloves from my pocket and go raccoon in pearls, just like I promised. 3rd layer down, a crumpled receipt ribbon. Office store logo. Items, printer, X420 toner, ream of premium legal paper, notary stamp kit, Date 2 days before the wowing stamp kit. Date 2 days before the wowings for stamp kit. Date 2 days before the wowing steward. I photographed the lot against today's paper with a timestamp, then bagged the receipt in a zip bag because chain of custody isn't just for TV. There's also a sticky note with witness practice signatures. J. Smith, R. Lee, written in a hand that thinks being messy equals being untraceable. It's adorable. My phone buzzes. Maya again. Video this time. She's crying just enough to fog a mirror. "You're tearing this family apart," she says. "You think 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 the Christy." I keep my voice flat. He wanted his name to be his, not a permission slip for theft. She sniffles. "We're just trying to keep stability." "Then stop moving the floor," I say, and hang up before my sympathy overrides my spine. Back in the kitchen, I lay out the day like a crop plan. 8:30 examiner with signatures and the ledger scans. 9:30 Dwyer for the prior will and his notes. 9:30 bank compliance for the BP trust. Noon file for a temporary injunction to freeze transfers and demand preservation. Afternoon, maybe eat a sandwich and remember I have blood. Sugar. I print my 3 exhibits again, plus a new one. Exhibit D will PDF metadata and the printer X receipt. I attach the sticky note yellow dot test. The examiner will either kiss this paper or yell at it. Either way, I'll get a yes or no. A text pops from Dwyer, "Found voicemail from your grandfather. Pressure to sign, won't." I feel that drop in my stomach, the kind you get when the roller coaster tips. I forward it to myself, then to compliance with the subject line, "Context for urgency." I take one last pass through the ledger. There's a tiny arrow Grandpa drew next to a weird withdrawal, $3,333, memo BP Trust reimburse. He rarely used arrows. When he did, it meant, "Do not miss this." I won't. I flag it in red. Tires crunch outside. Pete. He stomps in like the house owes him rent. Heard of Runat. Heard a hode. Heard a her. Heard you been withdrawing, I say. He puffs. That's Rich from the pet. Stop calling me that, I say. Start calling a lawyer. He leans in. You think the bank cares about your little diagrams? I think the bank cares about their federal auditors, I say, and their anti-money laundering team, and their local teller who remembers your breath. He blinks. My breath? It smells like ATM receipts, I say. He gets it a beat late and stalks out, cursing at a chair that didn't do anything to him. I lock the ledger back in the safe, this time with Grandpa's pen on top like a compass. I talk to the room because it's the only thing listening. Numbers don't lie, I say, and today they're going to sing. I grab my folders, my calm, and the petty part of me that keeps score. Then I head for the door because the trail isn't cold anymore. It's warm enough for life. It's warm enough for Formdom. It's warm enough for there. It's warm enough for surrounds. It's warm enough for assembling the case, allies, and receipts. I hit the examiner at 8:30 sharp. He's got the energy of a librarian who moonlights as a chainsaw. He slides on magnifiers, studies Grandpa's deed signature and the will printout, and grunts like a mechanic hearing a bad engine. Loop height inconsistent, hesitation tremor instead of physiological tremor, toner edge feathering. I'll formalize. He taps the birthday cards. Natural variation, consistent slant. I ask about the printer dots. He nods. We'll capture and compare. If your receipt ties to that series, we've got provenance. He signs a quick intake, stamps the chain of custody. 2 days for a preliminary letter. I need it in one, I say. He shrugs. Then you'll get it tonight. By 9:30, I'm back in Dwyer's office. He's already drafted the injunction. We're asking the court to freeze asset transfers and preserve all records, he says, pushing a pen at me. I sign the affidavit, straight-backed. He adds my exhibits to the packet, signature comps, ledger snapshots, full metadata, and the sticky yellow dot test. Note the examiner loved. We'll attach a sworn statement from anyone who saw odd activity, he says. Who do you have? Nora for late-hour visits and form pushing. Louis Fear, Nora for late-hour visits and form pushing. Louis Fee, good witnesses. No flair, all facts. I step outside to call Nora. She meets me in the diner parking lot, hair pinned like she's ready to run a marathon through red tape. I hit record with consent on camera. Tell me about the nights, I say. She nods, eyes on the horizon. 2 evenings, lights off in the lobby, back door buzzer. Lorna with Belle. They asked for convenience signer forms. They pushed a probate packet. I said Gerald needs to be a packet. I said Gerald needs to be eerie. Eating. Needs to be eerie. Ear. I said Gerald needs to be eerie. They didn't. She signs her sworn statement with a pen that doesn't shake. I kept notes, she adds, handing over a small notebook. Dates, times, who wore what. I'm nosy. You're a historian, I say. We both smile like we mean it. Next, Luis meets me by the barn. He's sunburned honesty with grease under his nails. I swear him in with Dwyer's notary stamp. Tell the court what you saw, I say. Pete loaded the seed drill and welder we saw, I say. Pete loaded the seed drill and welder me dear, said Gerald promised him. Nobody else was there. I took a photo of the plate. He hands me the photo. I tuck it into Exhibit E, label conversion. He nods at the fields. The land don't like thieves. It sours. So do I say. Back in the kitchen, I build a timeline wall on butcher paper like a crime show with less smooth lighting. Left to right, Grandpa's voicemail date, MRI day, joint account opening, late hour bank visits, equipment tough visits, equipment MRI day, equipment actual main, late hour bank visits, equipment take, thing. I add stickies, K-bill access logs, printer X receipt, witness practice signatures, BP trust under threshold pattern. The lines cross at the same 3 names, so many times the paper looks like a spider had a breakdown. I pull up the will PDF again, run it through a dot matrix extractor the examiner recommended. The yellow constellation appears faintly on my screen. I layer it over sample patterns from the printer and Current 420 SEER. I layer it over sample patterns from the printer X 420 SEER notes. It's a match in rhythm, if not in serial, same grid spacing, same corner offset. Not proof alone, but it smells like it. I text the overlay to the examiner. He replies, good. Bring original print if possible. I text back, working on it. Because petty moves win wars, I take a walk by Lorna's shed again. Her trash has new treats, an empty premium paper wrapper, a toner box with the cereal intact, and a return label to 2A. I am the world's politest raccoon. My phone pings. Cousin Maya, again. Family first, she texts, and then a photo of me leaving the bank with a folder. I respond, please stop filming me. It's creepy. She replies, you'll thank me when you calm down. I archive it under evidence, pressure, then set a silence filter on her number before my brain springs a leak. Dwyer calls. Judge granted a temporary freeze. Preliminary hearing in 40 days. Preliminary hearing in 40 days. 40 urls. Preliminary hearing in 40 days. 40 stub then 40 vols. Monetary hearing in 40 D. Wire calls. Judge granted. My shoulders drop an inch I didn't know they were holding. We'll need tight exhibits and 2 witnesses, he says. Nora and the examiner? Yes. Luis's statement as a supplement. He clears his throat. Also, Belle's counsel sent a cease and desist over your defamation. I laugh out loud. Bless their hearts. Frame your statements as opinion tied to facts, he says. Which you already do. Numbers with attitude, I read. Numbers with attitude, I warned you 9. Numbers with attitude, I warlaser holding. Numbers with attitude, Numbers with attitude, I Ralph grind. ID. Named numbers with attitude. I drive to the notary to get my statement stamped. The clerk looks bored until she reads the headings. People really try this? She asks. They do, I say. They also get caught. She stamps everything with the satisfaction of a person hitting a mosquito. On my way out, a text from an unknown number. You think you're clever. No signature. I label it Threat 02 and forward it to Dwyer. He responds, log it. Do not engage. I send back a thumbs up, real this time. Afternoon slides in. I call the examiner for a status check. He answers mid-click. Pulled printer dots from your PDF, he says. Grid matches printer X 420 family. If you get me a printed copy of the contested will, I can match serial microdots to the toner pattern on Lorna's receipt batch. Bell refused a hard copy, I say, but their filing should have a certified CAI. Fetch, he says. I hang up and fetch. At the clerk's window, I request an inspection of the filed will. The clerk, who has the moral energy of a librarian with a taser, slides it under a sheet protector. I study the page. The yellow dots are faint, but the pattern's there. I take permitted high-res photos under the clerk's supervision. Chain of custody never sleeps. Driving back, Pete's truck tailgates me for 3 miles, then swings alongside. Hey! Driving back, Pete's truck tailgates me for 3 miles, then swings alongside. Drop it, he yells over wind. You're gonna regret this. I keep my eyes forward. You already do, I say, and let him roar past like a toddler on a tricycle convinced he's a semi. At home, I compile the court packet light, Exhibit A, signature comp, B, POA versus MRI, C, BP trust withdrawals, D, printer metadata plus receipt, E, Luis's photo and statement, F, Nora's sworn statement. I write a simple court sworn statement. New will appears after tremor spike. Probate counsel has bank ties. Bank logs show access after termination. Funds routed to shell tied to air. Ask, preservation, discovery, and immediate freeze. No adjectives, just sharp nouns and short verbs. As the sun drops, I call Nora once more. You ready to testify if needed? I ask. She sighs. I retired last year. My pension doesn't explode if I tell the truth. They'll try to rattle you. My pension doesn't explode if I tell the truth. They'll try to rattle you. Honey, I raised 3 boys and a boxer, the dog, not the athlete. I don't rattle. I set 2 backup plans. 1, if the examiner's letter lags, Fisher's internal memo can carry the weight for the hearing. 2, if Bell plays sympathy with the judge, Dwyer leads with the voicemail. People can spin a signature. They can't spin a dead man saying no. Night again. I tape the last sticky on the timeline, hearing negatus too. Under it, I write the plan in fact, keep receipts. Then I switch off the kitchen light and let the house hold the evidence like a mouth holds a secret before the shout. Pressure cooker, family warfare. Dinner at the farm used to be jokes and gravy. Tonight it's a hostage situation with meatloaf. Lorna sets plates like she's dealing cards she already stacked. Grandpa wanted stability, she says, slicing the word into neat pieces. I take the seat Grandpa liked, back to the wall, eyes on the dog, back to the wall, eyes on the dog to the wall, eyes on the dog to the wall, eyes on the dog to the wall, eyes on the dog. Forks pause. Pete reaches for the potatoes like carbs are cover. Maya pours iced tea like she's baptizing guilt. He wanted us to feel secure, Lorna insists. And you, well, you're better with numbers than people. Numbers don't lie, I say. People do. The old line warms my lungs. I can see Grandpa at the table, reading grain prices to me, pencil tapping. He'd say, trust the math. So I do. Lorna softens her voice. We're all gree. Lorna softens her voice. We're all gree. Lorna softens her voice. We're all gree. It's the time to diffuse them, I say, starting with a will that smells like the office supply aisle. Pete barks a laugh. You got cute lines. A judge won't care. He'll care about the POA dated during an MRI, I say, and the withdrawals labeled BP Trust that fed your weekends. Maya clears her throat. We just want to keep the farm stable. You're turning this into a circus. I'm turning it into a ledger with witnesses, I say. I'm turning it into a ledger with witnesses, I say. She blinks. You're being hostile. I'm being accurate. Lorna pushes her chair back. We can settle this like adults. I'll offer you cash to withdraw your challenges. Enough to be comfortable. Put it in writing, I say. She hesitates. Her smile cracks. No need to formalize between family. Then it isn't real, I say. Email me the terms, include the source of funds, and the disclosure that you used to shell LLC to siphon.